My name is Jen Radwanski. I'm the Director of Parent and Family Partnerships, and tonight is our spring Parent and Family Association meeting. So we usually have one meeting a semester, and so this is our spring meeting. So we're so happy that you're all here. We have a lot of fun things that we're going to be doing this evening. So I'm going to be giving you a couple of Parent and Family Association updates, and then we have a guest speaker who's joining us, which is why many of you, I think, are here this evening. Pam Cross is joining us to talk a little bit more about the scholarship process, which just launched today. So again, that's really awesome information that I think that you all need. So I'm glad that you're here. I'm glad that you'll be sharing some of what you hear with your student, and that you're here to make sure that your student is being successful. So before we get started, I have something fun I want to try. I'm not going to lie, I haven't done this before. I want to launch a quick poll. Can you all see that? Are you seeing a poll pop up with a couple of questions? Awesome. So if you are a family member, we would ask that you just take 1 second. We're going to leave this up just for a minute as we still are letting a couple of people in. And if you could answer the following questions. This is anonymous, so nobody can see who you are, but we'd love to know if your student is a first generation student, meaning that they're the first person in your family to obtain a college degree, meaning neither of their parents, which possibly is you, obtain a 4-year degree. Second question is, did your student transfer to Stockton? So did they start here as a first-year student, or did they attend another institution? And the third question is, what year is your student? And this just kind of helps us to gauge our presentation today and know a little bit more about the audience. And the reason we're asking is because these are populations that are really important to us. We really care about our first generation students and family members. We know that, there's lots of things that are confusing about college, and we want to try and make that a little bit easier for all of you. We also know coming in as a transfer student, you spend a lot less time here. And so those of you who have a student that's a transfer student, we want to make sure that you can make the most of it. And then lastly, it's just good for us to kind of have an idea of what year your students are so that we can, gear our conversation today. So we'll leave that open just another second. I have a couple of guests who are joining me tonight as well. Well, not guests, they're part of this team. But I'd like to just acknowledge our Parent and Family Association Advisory Board members. A number of them are joining us tonight. Karen Callert. Karen, you want to wave to everybody? So Karen is actually helping behind the scenes and taking some notes and helping to host this event. Karen also works on campus, so I'm able to get her that access as a Stockton employee as well. And then I also have Jackie Farah. Jackie, I saw you logged in. There you are, Jackie. Jackie, do you want to wave to everybody? Awesome. Jackie is also one of our advisory board members. And then our third advisory board member is Lalita. I don't think Lalita's joining us this evening. I don't see her on my list here, but she has been with us for quite a while on the Parent and Family Association as well. But they hold a leadership position. They unfortunately have to get a bunch of emails from me and help with some things on campus, which we'll talk a little bit more about what that looks like while we're currently still in the middle of a pandemic. So I think everybody's had a chance to finish the poll. Karen, are you good? Can I close the poll? We're going to wait till Karen gives me the thumbs up. She's, like I said, just taking some notes for us. But we're really excited. I think this is one of the largest meetings that we've had, and the fact that we're doing it virtual and you're all joining us this evening is pretty cool. So I think that this is going to be a format that we like to kind of go towards in the future. Awesome. Karen, we're good? Awesome. All right, I'm going to end the poll. So we're going to minimize that for just a moment. Good deal. There's someone there. All right, so to kick off, as I mentioned, I just want to let you know that this is being recorded so that we can share this with other family members who couldn't be here. But I do have a short PowerPoint that I wanted to share with you all to talk about a couple of things that we have going on. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. All right, can everyone see that screen? I can see Karen and Jackie. Yep. All right. I got a thumbs up from Jackie. Thank you. All right. So just to kick off and tell you a couple of things. Let's see if it'll let me advance to the next slide. There we go. So what is the Parent and Family Association? I know for some of you, this is not your first meeting, so I apologize for, sharing this information again, but I think it's always good, especially because we do have some new family members. So I'm going to go over this just really quickly. So within the Office of Parent and Family Partnerships here at Stockton, we have our association, the Parent and Family Association. So what is it? What is the PFA? It's not a PTA. It is not a PTO. It's not the same as what you may be used to at your high school, and so that's an important thing. So let's talk about what it is. We are a social support organization. So that means we are here just to help one another, to help share experiences, and to help to support your students to make they're successful here at Stockton. We also do a little bit of fundraising, but that's not our main purpose. That's an additional purpose. The real purpose is to just, again, to support one another, to share thoughts and ideas, and to make sure that your student is successful here at Stockton. There's no fee associated with being a part of the PFA. Being a part of the PFA is simply showing up and participating in our events, which is kind of cool. At some institutions, there's a cost associated and an application and all these things. Ours is completely open and completely free, and all we're looking is for you to come and participate, which is pretty cool. We do not make rules and regulations for the university. A lot of times family members say, oh, I want to join the PFA because I want to come and change how tuition works and how scholarships work, and we want to change how parking works. Nope, we have nothing to do with that. We are not able to make any rules or regulations for the institution. That is the responsibility of the Student Senate on campus. That is the governing body of the students, and so they're the ones that can do that. And so if your student is looking for change on campus, then we really encourage that they attend the Student Senate meetings and actually get involved and run for our Student Senate. So that's the best way to make change on campus. So we do help to support student scholarships and student success. So we'll talk a little bit more about that and some of the initiatives that we've been able to accomplish within the last semester and the things that we have coming up. And again, we'll talk more about the scholarship process tonight, which is really exciting as that launched today. We also must follow the state and college policy, or we must follow state and college policies and procedures. So again, that means we follow all rules and regulations of the university, and because we're a state entity, we follow those procedures as well. So one of those is when we do have on-campus events, we do need to make sure that we use Chartwells, which is our food service provider. So a lot of times, and this is really when we're back on campus, which we're not right now, for at least for family members and guests. But when we are, that's one of the requirements that we have to do. We also, as we talk about fundraising and activities, for raffles, 50/50s, or anything that requires gambling that we have to do through our foundation account, we do have that capability, but not right now during COVID and while we're virtual, but it is something that we look forward to doing once we're back in person. And then lastly, we have to use state register vendors when we are doing programming. So again, these are all things that are a little bit more pre-COVID, and it will be post-COVID, but I think it's always important to share with everyone. All right. So I want to give you a couple of updates. I want to tell you kind of what we've been up to. It has been an interesting semester. I'll introduce myself a little bit further as part of that. I am a mother of two. I have a 5-year-old and an 8-year-old, and I am home 4 days a week with them while I'm also still working full time. So that is an adventure, to say the least, but we're still trying to do as much as we can to provide programming for all of you. I am on campus on Fridays, and as part of that, the reason I tell you these things is just to be realistic. I know we're all going through really difficult stuff, but we're really making this work. And even though I might physically only be on campus 1 day a week, what I want to share with you is that I'm accessible as the liaison to all of you as family members and to the association. So as we're talking about things, know that if you have additional questions, you want to talk through stuff, I am here for you through email, to set up a Zoom call, to talk on the phone. And I know many of you have taken me up on that, and I appreciate that and have enjoyed that very much, but wanted to share that too. So let me share a couple of updates of what we have been able to accomplish this semester. Hopefully you follow us on Facebook and on Instagram and check out our website, because I've been posting updates to there very frequently. So some of this might be old news to you, but if that's the case, that means you're doing a good job and you're paying attention to our social media and the things that we have going on. But one of the big projects that we worked on this past semester was at the end of the semester creating, we sell parent window clings and magnets. And that's always been something that we do at live events when we're in person. And we had to figure out a way that we were able to do that virtually. And so we connected with our friends in development and connected with a foundation account. help to raise money for scholarships, but one of the other things that we help to raise money for is our Student Relief Fund. And that is a fund that helps students who are in most need, that have some kind of emergency or some kind of tragic situation, but they're close to being able to complete their degree. And these funds help to kind of push them over and to accomplish that and to be successful at Stockton. And so this is a really big program that we're very, very proud of. So this semester alone, we've been able to assist over 30 students in that program. And we were able to sell window clings and magnets and raised $1,195. So just shy of $1,200, which was a really big deal to be able to contribute to that account. And so to those of you that contributed, thank you so much. To those of you that maybe your students are using this account, I hope that it has become helpful to you and to them, and something that we're going to continue with. We also did a small flower bulb fundraiser, and we were able to raise $125 to put into our programming account that will put, nestle that away so that when we are in person, that's a little bit of money we can, put towards some of our first programming when we do return. So again, those are kind of just the small things we're doing. Normally we would have we also had our university weekend this past semester, and hopefully you participated in some of those virtual events sponsored by alumni, by our office, and then also by the Office of Student Development. Not an easy thing to do, because usually we're in person having a big breakfast, having lots of vendors and doing some fun things. But I think we made the most of it. We had a lot of virtual programming, and I hope that you got to take advantage of that. So kind of moving forward, we're looking at ways, because the Parent and Family Association has been rooted in-person activities and in-person volunteering, we had to kind of rethink what that looks like. And I'm not going to lie, it took a little bit of energy to get ourselves up and running virtually, to re-envision what we're doing. And so I do want to put a call out to all of you that for those of you who, number one, maybe really like to write, maybe really feel comfortable with recording videos or things like that, I'd love to pick your brain to see if any of you are interested, and you don't have to answer it right this second. But what I do ask is that you write down the email address, family@stockton.edu. So that comes to me. And I'm interested to see if any of you would like to maybe write a column for our newsletter. Maybe you have tips and tricks that you've learned with your students that we could make a social media post out of and share with other folks. It can be anonymous, or we can put your information and a picture of you and your student on there, whatever you're comfortable with. But if you have something you think you should share with others, I would love to chat with you further about how we can get you more involved virtually in sharing and and create that support network for other family members. So again, the email address is family@stockton.edu. I'm happy to email back and forth with you, set up a Zoom call to talk, or set up a phone conversation, whatever you feel most comfortable with. But we're trying to figure out ways that we can get you more involved and also to share your experiences. The other thing I was kind of throwing around the idea on was trying to see if any of you have a talent that maybe we could highlight, or something that you can teach others to do that we could do virtually. So if there, is someone out there maybe that teaches yoga, or I'm trying to think of something creative, but whatever the case may be, if you have a skill that you've become proficient in maybe showing others virtually and you'd like to share that with our parent and family members, I'd love to talk with you further about that. So I'll leave it there, and I'll let you kind of brainstorm a little bit about what that looks like, but I'm hoping that maybe we have some creative things that come of it. Next, I want to share with you a little bit about some of our upcoming virtual events. And now I know that this slide might be really difficult to read, so I'm going to kind of verbally tell you a couple of things. And then also I want you to know that literally I copied this from a snippet on our website. So if you really want to look in and dive deeper and then also get to all of our links, you can just type in PFP to the Stockton website. You can type in PFA and that'll come up as well, or you can just type in parent in the search bar. So any one of those will allow our page to come up, and this comes from our events page. It's going to give you links to some of the previous events that we just had take place last week that have recordings, and I'm hoping to also get this presentation posted there as well for our family members that weren't able to join us tonight. But the next big event after tonight's presentation is next Wednesday. So same time, same place. I'll be sending out a new Zoom link and registration for that. But we're having our second book club discussion. And our first one was really fun. We did it in August. And so we decided to have another one. And this one is going to be even bigger and better because our author is actually going to be joining us. So Marjorie Savage is the author of You're on Your Own, but I'm Here If You Need Me. And I've got my copy here, and I know a number of you won free copies as well. So I hope that you're reading those. And if you didn't, you can still grab a copy online and take a peek at that. Even if you haven't read the book or you didn't get a copy or don't have time to read it, we still encourage you to join us for the discussion. And the reason I say that, I had the pleasure of actually getting to hear a webinar that Marjorie did earlier today. So just coincidence that she was presenting to my professional organization today. But she is really just an amazing and fun and down-to-earth person. And so we're really happy just to have a conversation about what it means to have a student in college. And although her book was written pre-COVID, she's done 2 research studies over the last year asking family members about their experience of their student in college and how it pertains to COVID. So she's going to be talking a lot about what she learned from that and how you can all kind of take what she's learned and help your students. So some of the things that she talked about today were, the stress levels and how health affects, the entire family, both mental health, physical health, but then talked about, some positive aspects on how family members can best, work through some of those things and how difficult it is to do online learning and how a family member can support their students. So again, we hope that you can join us for this virtual event, whether you've read the book or not, and get a chance to chat with Marjorie about her experience. So we can make sure your student is successful. This program is really, really great for anyone who has a first year student, has a new transfer student, or has a student who is first gen, meaning that maybe you or their other family members did not attend college. This is a great conversation piece where you can get to meet other family members, learn for them, and just be an open, honest conversation. So we're looking forward to that. Again, we'll be sending out a Zoom registration for that early next week so you can participate. The next presentation that I'm really excited about discussion, is February 16th, which is a Tuesday evening. And again, that'll be another Zoom call that we'll send a registration for out a few days prior to that event. But my supervisor is going to be kind of facilitating a fun discussion, talking about how to support students of color and providing a safe and open space for family members of color or who have students of color to just talk the things that we're working through as a country and talk through social justice and what does that look like as a student here at Stockton and making, again, the most out of their experience and having them have a successful experience and also making sure that you have a successful experience. So like I said, Dr. Walter Tarver will be joining us to facilitate that conversation. And if you hadn't had a chance to meet him before, he's a lot of fun to chat with, and he's really excited to facilitate this open conversation on Zoom. And then lastly, we've just added one more event to round out our month of February. We're trying to do a live event every week for the semester. Hopefully we can keep up with that. And so we have another Facebook Live event. And so the great thing about Facebook Live is that you can watch it live and ask questions, but it also records to our Facebook page, and you can watch it after the fact and ask questions after the fact as well. But we have Patrick Burns who will be joining us, and he's going to be talking more about how the career and internship fair works, and that's going to be virtual. They're 2 separate programs, and he's going to talk about how you can help your student to navigate both of those programs and encourage them to attend those programs. So we hope that you mark your calendar for that, and if you can't attend that, then again, you can view those recordings after the fact. We also have events that we are working on for March, but I can't publicize those quite yet. We're working out the final details. But again, if you're following us on Facebook, Instagram, or getting our emails and watching our website, you'll be updated on all of those events so that you can make sure to attend. And we'll do our very best. We know it's hard to try and find a time that works for everyone. So that's why we're working hard to make sure that they're recorded so that you can see them at another time. One last thing I want to add. This is not listed on here, but I want to highlight one of our other departments at Stockton, athletics. So on Friday evening at 6 p.m., we are going to be having our first basketball game. The men's basketball team is playing at 6 p.m. and there are no spectators allowed, but we're really asking for as many participants as we can get virtually to support them, to cheer them on, and we'll be sharing the link for that event on Friday, and we hope you can attend. The women's basketball team is also playing on Saturday, and we'll be sharing that on our social media accounts too. So please join us. Please help to cheer them on. It's going to be difficult for them to participate and to play when they don't have those people in the stands to root them on, but I think they'll be really happy to know that we're all supporting them virtually. And for those of you who are far from Stockton, this might be an actual opportunity for you to see a game that you might not normally get to. So we really hope that you can join us. I've got two more last things for you, and then we'll turn things over to Pam to go over our scholarship information a little bit more. I know that there are lots of questions about COVID, so I did want to touch upon that this evening. And this is really important that I share this with you because we have a really big update for you this week about testing. Stockton is now offering free testing on campus Monday through Thursday, 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. in Lakeside Lodge. And we just want to make sure that family members are aware of that. It's not just for residential students, it is for both commuter and residential students to utilize. They do need to register for an appointment ahead of time. But again, it is free of charge, and all students have been sent the link in order to use this. And they can use it if they are asymptomatic or if they are symptomatic. There are separate entrances for Lakeside so that they are not, getting in contact with the staff that work in that building or for the food service. So it's a really great setup. And we really encourage students to utilize that facility and that free testing. With that being said, we know that with COVID that a lot of things are changing. We know how difficult doing online learning is. It's easy dealing with all of those things. And so what we want to make sure that you also know about is our wellness center, and that there are great services provided to students that are free of charge. And so one of those is our free virtual counseling. We have online counseling for students. They don't have to come in person, and they can meet with our counselors. They can set up appointments. We also have telehealth visits that they can utilize for counseling. Mental health is something that's really important, and we're going to be doing more coverage about the services that our wellness center provides. But while I had a captive audience, I wanted to just throw it out there as an important piece. If you're looking for more information, you can just type in wellness to the Stockton webpage, and it'll take you to their main website. In addition to counseling, they also have free health services in West Quad 108, Monday through Friday with a variety of hours. So we do encourage students to check those hours ahead of time. And also if they need service after hours or on the weekends, that they do need to utilize our urgent care facilities in Galloway and Atlantic City. But do know that health services are provided to all students, and that's part of their student services fee. So it's something that they might want to take advantage of if they aren't feeling well, whether it's COVID or not. It's still something that they have access to, and something that we wanted to share with all of you. They do not need to have insurance to utilize these services, so they can come in and make an appointment. They can make an appointment over the phone before they arrive. That's actually the best bet. But we do want to put that out there as a service to make sure that you all know about. So with all of that said, we are going to have an opportunity for questions at the end of our presentation, but I do want to dive into our guest speaker really quickly to make sure that she has plenty of time to chat with you all and share the wealth of knowledge that she has. And so without further ado, I do want to introduce to you Pam Cross, who is the coordinator of the Skills Center and Writing Lab, and also the co-chair of our scholarship committee here at Stockton. And another highlight that I wanted to add, in addition to being just a very dear friend and colleague, she is also the parent of a Stockton graduate. And I think that that's an important thing to share with you all because she has been in your shoes. And so I am going to stop sharing in order to allow Pam to share her screen with all of you. So Pam,
hey everybody. So one of the things that makes me a really good presenter is that I'm quick. So there is hope. I don't know, have any of you, do I have any parents of any of my students here? You don't know? No, maybe? Pam Cross? I teach in...
If they've had you, they were very lucky. So you should ask.
Yeah, right. Well, yeah. Anyway, I teach in the first year studies program. So if I could have taught their freshman seminar or, but maybe not. But anyway, yeah, I'm also the co-chair of the scholarship committee. There actually isn't there is no other co-chair. But I don't really like calling myself the chair because I'm just born to be a co-chair. There was a chair. Co-chair. He retired. Anyway, let me share my screen and just run you through a few things to share with the students in your lives. So maybe you can see in the background there my coworker, my doggy, who I'm rather obsessed with. So you will see. So anyway, the point of this is just to kind of give you some insider tips for getting a Stockton Foundation scholarship. If you could spread the word to the students in your lives. And tip one is really urging your students to start early. That came up. All right, can you all see that? All right, holler, and please, at any point, unmute and holler at me. So don't worry about that. But they went live today. Did somebody holler at me? Okay. They went live today, and the applications, and they'll close March 24th. Students can open them and go back and save and go back. I also have my dear colleague from the development office, Cindy Krager, here, who is sort of like she knows more about the scholarship selection process than anybody on the campus. And so if I say anything wrong, Cindy is going to unmute and jump in, please. The minimum GPA to apply is 3.0, and you need to have at least one semester with final grades to apply. So anybody who's here, whose students are in their first semester, they can take this information home with you and remember it, but they need to wait until they have a transcript before they can apply. However, this semester's grades will count too. So if you're the student in your life, has a GPA that's around 3.0, but they really plan on doing much better this semester to bump it up a bit. Still encourage them to apply. The minimum is 3.0. And so the scholarships are awarded based on a variety of meritorious factors, including financial need, GPA, family circumstances. It's a combination of things. So sometimes students think that I'm in because I've got a good GPA, but they slack in a couple of areas. They don't necessarily write a good essay, or their application is a little weak in terms of other areas that we look at, and what we look at is we're really trying to get a sense of the students' stories. We all have our stories, and how we tell our stories and how you can present yourself so that the folks on the scholarship selection committee have a real sense of who you are, where you've come from, where you're going, that makes you unique. So step one for students is to start the application. And I think and so you get a little feel for what my students go through, because my links never work. So I already know that I was supposed to click on the dog and it's supposed to go someplace, but it's not going to. So I'm going to show you how you can start the link. Sorry about that. And you can go to our Stockton webpage, and if you type in Stockton Foundation, type in Foundation Scholarship, you'll go right there. Your kids are also the students are also getting emails to tell them about this, but you can always just do that. And then if we go straight here, the first hit is about how to get a scholarship and fun facts. And there's really a lot of good information in here. And I'm not going to, duplicate what's here, but it gives you information about the process, gives your students information about the process. There's a fun little video here about, get going now. And the time to get going is today. It's as soon as possible. Again, you can start the process and leave and come back. Scholarship amounts run. There's some relatively small book awards for $100. To some opportunities are around $2,500, and this is real money, and it takes a nice bite out of the tuition bill. Jen told me to tell this story about my son who graduated from Stockton, and he was applying for the Washington internship. And he got an email over the summer that said, if you're applying, and if he did a minor in political science. And so if you have a major or a minor in political science and you want to do the internship and you apply by this early date, you can get $1,000 off the tuition for that semester. And so he showed me the email, this is good, huh? Oh, that's great. Okay, well, and then of course he did nothing, for most of the summer. And then I around mid-August, I said, well, so, this is, I believe you have a September 1st deadline, right? You're going to get that application in early. And he said, well, it's not really due until like the middle of October. That's only if you want the $1,000 off. And I realized I had failed utterly as a parent, and so, we had to have a little talk that, that $1,000 is real money in our house. Does he see us, spending $1,000 just here and there? So anyway, perhaps that rang true for you. Perhaps you have been more successful parents and that doesn't, but you definitely want to give the nudge. And again, I'm not going to go over this, but there are some helpful tips, and I'm probably going to duplicate some of this material right now, but I'm going to do it quickly and funnily. So let me go back here. Whoopsie. I know, feel for my students, feel for them. See, part of the problem is that Zoom messes you up. All right. Oh, it did work. How about that? I had no faith. That didn't work though. Now my little arrow is, there we go. Did I miss something? Yeah. All right. The faculty recommendation. So when the students get into the app, they're going to see that they need a faculty recommendation. A recommendation from a faculty member. They should stop right there and not put in the faculty name. Instead, they want to ask the faculty member first. I get lots and lots of recommendation requests, and I always like it if the student reached out to me and said, "Hey, I'm about to put your name in for the application. Is that okay with you?" It's just a little bit of etiquette. The student, they're not being intentionally, rude or presumptuous. I mean, they've opened the app, it asks for a name, and they put it in. But you should really ask a faculty member first and give a couple of weeks notice. Now, this is, the only people worse at doing things at the last minute than students or faculty members. So we understand that not everybody does this, but this is ideal. It's the 2-week time frame. And so you can, if now it opened up today. And students are opening their applications. I have gotten no recommendations yet, but I bet I will the next few days. And those folks are going to get a little bit more of my attention than the ones that I get on March 24th. I'll do my best, but that's just true. So once a faculty member says yes, then the student can go back in the application, put in the faculty member's name. And I remember you can go and come, and I've already said that. So when a student, that's my girl. Oh, isn't she just extraordinary? So when a student puts a faculty name down, a reference as a reference, we get an email. And I know this link doesn't work. So let me just go to what that looks like. So this is what I get. So I'm the faculty member, and I get student X is requesting a reference letter from you. So that's generated really, really quickly. I don't know if it's instant, but it seems like it's the same day. And then it's instructions about how I should write my letter, and it's telling me that I should personalize and tailor my letter to the student as much as possible. Demonstrate his or her the content of her character. That's didn't yeah, that's going to go in my letter. Highlighting the student's academic, volunteer, service learning, research, or internship achievements, and also explaining a time when I witnessed the student overcome a challenge or adversity to excel in their coursework or attain an educational goal. That's kind of broad. But so knowing this information as parents or friends of students who might be applying, you can counsel them on who to ask for a letter of recommendation. Not necessarily, the professor that you like the most and gave you an A, but does this professor know you? And Stockton's a great place for getting to know your professors. And the deadlines are all in here for faculty members, because as I said, the only people worse than students at meeting deadlines are faculty members, and some instructions for how to get that in there. So I'm going to go back to my PowerPoint, and I'm going to go back seamlessly to the slideshow from the current slide. Look at that. And we'll look at my Gracie again and move on. So the folks on the committee evaluate the letters. And we look, and you can see that the things we're looking for, making general comments on students' academic achievement is important. So my letter might start, that I had, little Jen Radwanski in my class, and she always sat in the front row, and she was, timely with her assignments. Okay, tell me more. But if I can also add that I know that Jen is, a mother of two, and she's juggling that, work-life balance. And, I also might know that during the course, she always made an attempt to get there on time, even though she was working, a part-time job, or even though, and that she was caring for an elderly grandparent who meant the world to her. Some information that I know about her. It's also, citing multiple instances of exceptional circumstances or work quality. So, maybe I don't know anything about, Jen's elderly grandmother, but boy, let me tell you about this project that she and I worked on. And it was fantastic for an undergraduate. And I'll go into specific details. That's what a great letter looks like. And so I think that you're seeing like a pattern here, and so students should choose wisely who they're going to ask. Choose someone who knows you, or knows your story. If I was talking to a student, and so what if a professor, I don't have a professor who knows me. You kind of want to work on that, and if you, so let's, and I have had students who right now at this point in the semester, I could have a student who says, listen, I know we've only known each other for, a week and a half, but I think I feel good about this class or whatever. And this is, what you teach is what I want to do. And, would you consider writing me a letter? And I would say, absolutely. But let's get to know each other a little bit. Let's have a Zoom meeting. Send me your your resume. Tell me a little bit, so I've got some meat to put in the letter. And so, this is a conversation you could have with your students in the next couple of days. Who are your professors that you've connected with? And if they say, what do you mean? Nudge them a little bit, get them outside their comfort zone. Maybe, you're not so comfortable, emailing a professor or texting a professor saying, hey, can we meet? It's a good life skill.
Miss Cross?
Oh, yeah.
Sorry. Does it have to be a professor that they have this term, or can it be from like last term?
Oh, thank you for asking that question. No, it can be from a previous term. It does not have to be from this term. It can be an adjunct faculty member. It doesn't need to be a full-time person. It should just be somebody who is in a position to speak to a student's life story.
Yeah, I'm just thinking his professors last semester might know him a little more than his current ones.
Absolutely. I know my students from last semester, and I really know my students who I used to actually see. But these are challenging times for all of us. So, but yeah, definitely a professor from last semester would be good.
I think the one thing I've gotten a question on about that is folks have asked, well, can it be a professor from community college or from high school? And that is not the case.
That is not the case.
A full-time or adjunct professor from Stockton. So like I said, that's just a question that family members have asked me before. So I figured I'd throw that in too. Yeah.
And I don't usually say this so early in talking to parents, but if your student is really stuck here, have them reach out to me. I've done workshops for students, and they've come up and they're like, I know I'm bad. I'm really shy. I don't know. I have nobody to ask. And I say, get to know me a little bit, so that I can write a letter, on your behalf. And I'm really happy to do that. Although if I get 47, I'm never gonna offer that again. But seriously, I mean, and sometimes, we don't want to disadvantage a student who's shy or who has had faculty members who haven't been the most warm and cuddly. So you can always reach out to me, and I'll give you my contact information at the end. So on the student's end, so now the student has opened the application and has said, I'm going to ask Pam Cross for a recommendation, and has reached out to Pam. Pam has said, fine, I'll do it. Put the faculty member's name in the application. There are lots of questions on the application. In fact, if I open this application, I think there are more questions on this application than if you're trying to get a passport. It's a lot. It's a lot. But there are reasons for this. So you're going to see some personal questions like, have you or anybody in your family been affected by cancer? Anyone in a union? First responders, military, affected by suicide, addiction, mental health crises? Are you part of the EOF program? Have you taken Jewish studies or Holocaust studies courses? Do you have a parent or sibling who went to Stockton? You might be thinking, this is kind of nosy. But there are scholarships that have specific guidelines for recipients. And I was going to click there and check some out, but you can do that on your own. But there are some scholarships that go specifically to students with different majors, that go to students that there's a preference for students who are military families. There are preferences for students who have a sibling or a parent who went to Stockton. They're set up by the Alumni Association. There are scholarships that have geographic limitations. There's a South Jersey gas scholarship that you have to be within the range to be a customer of New Jersey gas. So if you're in a position to nudge your student, don't cut any corners with this application. about cancer, there's a one of the scholarships, or couple, or two of the scholarships, I believe. Cindy may correct. You want to correct me, Cindy?
There's just one.
Just once. Thank you, Cindy. That it's in honor, it's in memory of someone who died of cancer, and so we're looking for the stories. And so, sometimes students put in there, well, I think my grandmother, had a mole removed once. That doesn't get you, to the top of that pile, as opposed to, well, I myself am currently cancer free after, having had leukemia as a child, or, I lost my dear family member to cancer. Tell your story in there. There's unfortunately, a scholarship named after a student who died by suicide. And this award wants to go to someone who either has been active in working in the mental health field, or wants to work in the mental health field, or has been personally touched by suicide or depression. That, tell your story. So so I'm not gonna, but you can look at my dog there. I'm not gonna go to that list. Let's talk about the essay, because I am, my real job is that I run the writing center, and I'm a writing teacher. Once the students start the application, they are going to get an automated email from me. We're still doing that, right, Cindy?
I'm sorry, say one more time, Pam. I was answering a question.
Oh, I'm sorry. Once students start the application, they get an automated email from me. We're still doing that, right?
An automated email from you for
about tips for writing the essay.
Yes, they get, yes, that's part of it. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. And there's definitely information throughout to always go to the tutoring center to assist them. Yes.
Right. Well, let me show you the letter that went. Oopsie. This is not good. I've got my Zoom bar where I need to. Sorry, hope I don't have any. Okay, so this is what we send out, Cindy. Do you and I think we're doing it again. So this goes out to students who have applied, and this is from me as the co-chair of the committee. And it's, I write to you with free advice as you prepare your application for a Stockton Foundation scholarship, right? Okay. I'm glad and it just kind of, is reminding students that we read the essays carefully. Students, we're all human beings. We all enjoy cutting corners when we can. Sometimes students just copy and paste whatever they wrote to get into the institution in there. That's not what we want. And it's a specific prompt here, and I don't know if you can see it. So let me go back to, I really didn't need to show you that at all. Let me go back here. Let me show you the prompt here. So the prompt is that they write 250 to 500 words. And please tell your young person that 500 words of blah, blah, woof, woof is not better than 300 words of good content. Your essay is going to be evaluated on this rubric. You have to answer question 1. Everybody answers question 1. Why did you select Stockton University and your major? And then you choose 2 of these other questions based on the ones that sort of speak to your story. So if you are, if you're like my son, you would not choose number 2 because, he didn't necessarily know what he wanted to do after he graduated, right? But some people really, they're really kind of laser focused. That's a question they can run with. Go ahead. Discuss what or who inspires you to do your best. I got to tell you, this question generates some good stuff. We hear about grandmas. We hear about coaches. If your student has decided to write, I am who inspires me to do my best, nudge them away from that because it's, yeah, right. I don't have to say anymore, do I? Anyway, but discuss any challenges you've overcome, and don't, I mean, if your student has pretty much been living large and you can't think of a single challenge, don't fudge that one. But if there's a story there, by all means, go there. And from a financial standpoint, what impact would this scholarship have on your education? This is where you get real. And if we were in a room together, I could look at your faces and some of you would be nodding, if this year has affected all of us, COVID wise. But in my house, my husband and I are both teachers. We both are getting paychecks. Other families, small businesses, that has not been the case. Don't shy away from question 5, especially not in 2021. Let us know what's going on. And those are definitely factors that will be considered. So tell your story. Tell your student to tell the story. And this is kind of an outdated image there, but I liked it. Editing counts on the committee, and you know who they are there, and they're not usually the writing teachers. There are the curmudgeons who say, it was more like a text message. That's not me on the committee. I can handle a little casual diction and creative spelling, but it is a factor. We want to see that our students are showing some pride in presentation. And this is time for my shameless plug for the Writing Center. And oops, am I like messing you up when I move that around? Do you see that too? Anyway, so the Writing Center is all virtual these days, unfortunately, but it hasn't been that bad. We went all virtual in March, and I was sobbing that this is never going to work, but it did. And I think if I click on this, it takes us to our homepage, and there are lots of ways to get there, but the easiest thing to do is just type tutor into the search, and it would take you right here to the tutoring center. And here's just the tutoring center. It's the math center and the writing center. Our hours are there. I'm not going to click it because we'd actually go in there right now because we do have evening hours, and there should be a tutor there right now. But you can go right in, and you want to say, yeah, I'm working on my essay, and show the prompt. And tutors very well might be saying, oh, yes, I've written mine too. Let me see yours. And, we'll talk a little bit. You work together. It's not like a Jiffy Lube situation where you're dropping something off and picking it up later. But it's you work together collaboratively, and you get some feedback.
So Ms. Cross, they're there that whole entire time block? You could just pop in anytime?
You can just pop in. Yeah, you just pop in.
You don't have to make an appointment.
You don't have to make an appointment, no.
And you don't have to use this for this either. Students can use it for any.
Yeah. If I could really get shameless, your students can use it for. The Writing Center helps students with writing assignments for any class they're in here at the university. And the Math Center, if you go to their website, it's not just math; it's any course that's mathy. So chemistry and statistics and physics, economics. Some business studies courses, lots of stuff.
So math tutors can help with chem?
Math tutors can help with chem, yes.
Okay. Now listen, I went to the Writing Tutor Center when I went to Stockton. It was very helpful. I thought it was really great until they got out the red pen. I was like,
what?
I thought I was, good to go. And then they tore it up. I was like, whoa.
Oh, well,
No, it was good. It was good. I thought, but I didn't know my comm is as good as I thought. So it's all right.
Well, I don't know that that's like an endorsement to say they tore it up, but I thank you for saying that. It's
No, it was
always
good.
better to get torn up, if you will, by a tutor than by your faculty member.
Exactly.
So,
Now, listen, I'm a teacher now, and if one more student doesn't capitalize I when it's by itself, I'm going to lose my mind.
oh, Sharon, we got to go out for a drink. Yeah,
I'm telling you.
I know.
Even my own son, I read an email, I'm like, you sent that without capitalizing I? Are
I
you
know.
insane? I can't take it.
I know.
Anyway, but they made me better for it, but I still remember that. And they're really helpful.
Well, I feel your pain, and I have the same son, and yeah, no, I mean the students. It's not, it's hard to go from texting to professional writing or kind of.
Although the linguistics teacher, Spitzer, I forget her name,
Lois Spitzer.
Yeah, she will tell you that I took her for graduate school, and she said, texting does not harm written language. She would argue against us.
She is absolutely correct. It's yes. Yeah. Writing is writing, and when you're texting, you're connecting with an audience, and so it's all good. But you do want, when you're depending on the audience, you have to change your diction, change your style. Yeah. But anyway, we could talk for hours, but I'm trying to wrap this up. So if you could tell your students.
Pam, I'm going to interrupt you for 1 second. It's Jen. Sorry. Could you just ask, because I think it's a good topic and something really important for everybody here, in addition to the scholarship stuff, but we had just a couple really easy questions.
Oh, go.
Yeah, I thought it was better to do it now, but one of them, how, Sharon mentioned the red pen, but clearly a lot of this is being virtual. So the one question is, how does it work virtual? And are there situations where they are meeting with students in person with physical distancing and masks and such? Is that taking place?
We are not. I was pushing. I was like, can't we? And we got shut down. So no, there is no in person, but the way it works is you come in and you're welcomed and by a tutor, and the tutor and the student go into a breakout room. And if you're familiar with Zoom, you know what a breakout room is. It's just a private space. And the session starts with, what are you working on? What's the assignment? And tutors do not start helping until they know what it is a student is supposed to do. And then the student can share their screen, and they can go through the text together with the tutor pointing things out. The tutors are trained not to take over and edit for the student, because we want to empower students to learn and be able to take these skills with them after the session. But it really has been a whole lot better than I would have thought it was. And but there was another question, Jen, too.
Yep. And sorry, I'm trying to answer some of the questions too. So it was just talking about what it looks like if it is online, whether or not it could be in person, which it is not. And I'll just kind of answer that too. Everything is virtual, just for the safety of our students and for the simplicity of making sure that there is access for the students. So just to answer that question. And then there was questions about the hours of operation, but you can view those on the website that Pam just showed you. If you just type tutor in, all of that stuff.
Yeah, we've got daytime hours from Monday through Thursday, 9:30 to 5, Friday 9:30 to 2, and evenings Sunday through Thursday evenings 6 to 9.
Cool. Thank you.
I have a typo here. Did you see that? Tell them to cook for an email. Sorry, that should be look for an email. Thursday, February 18th is a workshop. That pretty much this workshop with something else I figure out to put in there. It's sponsored by First Ospreys, but anybody is welcome to join. And I hope you will. I think I've got one more slide, which is just my dog and reaching out to me. So you've made a new friend tonight. I'm Pam Cross, like Cross My Heart. And I've been at Stockton for a frightfully long time. So if I don't know the answer, I know, I probably know who to send you to. So please reach out and just, send me an email. Say, yeah, I was at the what are we called? Parent Teacher Association? Is that
Parent Family Association?
Parent Family Association. Sorry. Sorry, Jen, I should know that. And I have a question. Please do. So this is late for me. I'm not in my pajamas yet, but I should be.
But you will be shortly, right?
Yeah. Isn't that a cute dog?
We appreciate you taking the time to share that. And one little or two little tidbits I want to add to what Pam shared with you all. She mentioned the email that's going to go out to students about the program sponsored by First Ospreys. First Ospreys is our student club for students who are first generation. However, the programs that are anyone. So Pam is going to be doing a similar presentation for the students like she did this evening about how this all works. And what I'll share with you, we learned some interesting information. There were about 30 students that attended that event, and 11 of them took that and they were able to get scholarships when they attended last year. So if your students are really paying attention to these details and working really hard, there's more that they can learn. Can you hear me now? Did I break up a little bit there? I apologize if my internet said it just was unstable. The second thing so again, really making sure your students attend that program as well as you attending this program is going to be key. The second thing that I would share with you all on top of what Pam shared, and this is where my role as the Director of Parent and Family Partnerships come in. I have to sometimes dish out the tough love. What you all need to hear is that at no point in time should you be doing the application for your students, okay? As much as I know you would probably love to, as much as I know that you're probably helping to foot the bill and playing a huge role, Pam would, and I think would agree with me to say that it's okay to proofread their application. It is okay to encourage them to complete it. It is okay to hound them to find out what progress they're making, but at no point should you be logging in under their account and submitting it for them or writing their essay. So again, I think that's knowledge, but I always want to put it out there and just mention that. I think that that's really important to kind of share. But we do want to open things up if you do have additional questions or whether it's about the scholarship process or if you don't have any, we'll do that first. And then if you have questions outside of the scholarship process, because we want to make sure Pam gets to sleep. She's got to teach.
It's all right.
Jen, if I could just share two things that I think are really important, that I think could be really helpful to everybody to understand is you apply to this one application and do the things that Pam said, submitting the essay and the letter of reference, but the software will match them to all the scholarships they are eligible for. So they do not have to apply to each individual scholarship. And I think that's why it's so important that they answer the questions so completely. Again, being very honest and forthright with the information. But I think they would be surprised all the things that they would be qualified into the group for. And then, of course, they have to, go before the committee. Their application would go before the committee. The other thing that I think as a parent or a loved one who's here trying to gather this information tonight that is important. Last year, I think we had about 1,000. I think it was just shy of 1,000 students apply. And by the end of the process, we had awarded over, I want to say about, let's say 500 scholarships to about 400 and some students. So the percentages are pretty good. So it's really important to apply and just for them to do their best.
Now, Cindy, there's a question that we were just talking about today about scholarships for part-time students. That question's in the chat.
Great question. We have a couple this year. We don't advertise it that way because we have so few that are actually available to, like, we only have 2 that are new this year. the majority of these are for full-time students. Yeah, and you can, I'll put my information in here too. If you have some specific questions about that, I can try to help you out with that but most of these are for full-time.
And I think something to just highlight again, I know we've kind of said it, but the fact that there's one process for all scholarships, not every school does it this way. And we are really lucky that so much time and energy has been put in to really making this process as easy as possible. And so Pam mentioned there's a lot of questions, but it's still only one essay. It's still just, the faculty recommendations. It's not multiple. I know that and even some high schools and things like that, they required you to apply for every single scholarship and for you to do all the work. And so by checking off those little boxes in this process and doing it, it's a one-stop shopping. And that's really, I think, a feather in our cap here to make things easier for your student and to make sure that they have as many opportunities to apply for the scholarships as possible. So I thank you all for doing that, Cindy and Pam and your team, for making that as seamless as possible. So. Are there any other questions for Pam about the scholarship process or for Cindy?
No, just thank you. And thanks for sending that email, because that empowers them to kind of take the lead and do it themselves, and think about those things. So thanks for that automatic send, because I'm just going to be telling them, read that. So thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah, now they've been asking about the slides. I have to go back and fix I don't know, maybe you saw more than one typo. I only saw one typo that I wrote kook instead of look. So I'll fix those and send them to Jen, and you will distribute them. Is that okay?
Yeah, we also are recording this, so we will share the recording on our website as well.
That's why I kept it clean.
When do they find out if they received it?
It's a good question. Cindy, you want that one?
Sure. The selection, as Pam mentioned, will be the last week of May. And we try to let them know, we tell them on this website by June 15th. That just gives us a buffer in case there's something that goes really crazy, but usually within a week of the selection. So the first week of June.
Okay. And can that be used for summer classes, or does it have to be used for fall?
Fall and the following spring. Must be used for fall. Yes.
And there was a question about if this is your first semester. If this is your first semester at Stockton, you actually don't have a Stockton transcript yet. You don't have a Stockton GPA. So you that student would need to wait until next year to apply.
Correct.
And then there was a question about the admission scholarship carried over to the next 3 years. I believe that admission scholarships do carry over as long as the student maintains the GPA. Is that correct?
That I don't know, because it's outside of my realm, but I would definitely just double check with the admissions office to be sure.
Yeah, the admissions office can confirm that. I know this because friend of my son's roommate lost his. I think it's because his GPA slipped. But I forget if it was a 3.0 or a 3.25, what it slipped to.